Alright, how's everybody doing today? Back again with another video for you guys. And today, I have my versus/comparison video between the Moto G4 Plus and the Moto X Pure Edition. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Now, starting off, the first thing I want to talk about with you guys is the build quality and design of both of these devices. Let's start with the G4 Plus. Now, when it comes to build quality on the G4 Plus, I must say it has a very straightforward and utilitarian build quality to it. It's very functional. It feels very good in the hands. It's got a nice weight to it. It's light, but not too light. You can actually feel it in your pocket, and it actually feels like it won't slip out of my hands. And the buttons are very easy to differentiate, and the power button is textured, so that is very cool. So I can definitely tell when I'm hitting the power button from when I'm hitting the volume rockers. So overall, I would have to say the build quality on the Moto G4 Plus is pretty good indeed. Now, much of the same can be said when I talk about the Moto X Pure Edition. Again, it feels very good in the hands. It's got a nice weight to it. You actually feel it a little bit more than the G4 Plus because it's definitely a bigger size. Now, although the screen does differ by 0.2 inches, you can definitely tell the size difference. But again, it feels good in the hands, and it has a very nice weight to it, and it's actually, again, made of a grippy material with like aluminum siding, so it feels good. And the volume buttons, again, are easy to differentiate from the power button because the power button is textured. So again, the overall build quality on the Moto X Pure Edition is pretty good as well. And now, if I had to pick a winner from a build quality standpoint, I would have to say it's a tie. These are very good constructed devices, and they are very well built as well, if I could talk correctly. So in terms of build quality and design, I would have to say, in my opinion, it's a tie. Now, moving on, let's talk about the displays on these guys. Let's start with the Moto X Pure Edition here. Now, up front, dead center here, what you have is a 5.7-inch Quad HD display with a pixel density of about, I want to say, 500. Let me just double check that for you guys. So we're going to jump into CPU-Z here. And let's see right there. Let the camera focus up so you guys can see. Having some issues focusing today. Let that focus up. But you can see right there that it does say that it has a screen density of 515. And now overall, guys, that's just a number. In terms of the screen in day-to-day use, I would have to say that this is a really good screen and a really solid display overall. Now, I apologize if it looks a little weird with this camera. I'm using the Note 3 to record this video because this is generally what I use to record my videos, and then this is what I'm reviewing at the time. So there's not really anything to record this video on. And the Moto X 2014, I actually packed that one up. That one's getting ready to go. I'm trying to find somebody to sell it to, because, you know, we got to bring something else in. So, at this time, I apologize if y'all feel that the video quality is not up to snuff. I'm shooting this on the Note 3. But, again, in terms of display, I would have to say that the display on the Moto X Pure Edition is actually a very solid display. And it gets really bright outdoors. And I must say, outdoor-wise, I've had no problems with it. No problems whatsoever. And it actually gets really bright. Now, you can see it actually made the exposure on the camera jump around a little bit. But in terms of display, this is a solid display. Now, jumping over to the display on the G4 Plus, again, this is more of the same but slightly different. Now, in terms of display, what we have on this guy is a 5.5 inch 1080p display with a screen density of 400, I want to say. Let me double check that for you guys. Alright, let's jump in here real quick. So 403, I was close. Let me let that focus. Having some serious focusing issues today, guys, I apologize. But if you can see it, it does say 403 screen density. But again, overall, that's just a number. Overall, talking about display in daily use, it's a very, very solid display. And again, it gets really, really bright outdoors. And you know, guys, in terms of using it on a day-to-day basis, I actually found that I don't actually have to crank this one to the max. I can just set it where I'm comfortable and still be able to see it outdoors. So in terms of display on this guy, I would have to say it's a very, very solid display as well. So now, if we had to pick a winner in terms of display, I'm going to have to say that this is a tie. In my opinion, these are both very solid displays. It really is what you prefer. Some people like the big 5.7 inch displays, where other people like the 5.5 and under displays, and I'm a big fan of the 5.5 inch screen size. That's actually my favorite screen size. That's my sweet spot right there. So, but in terms of display, if I had to choose one to use on a daily basis and only use one, I would have to say it's a tie, because these are some really good displays in here. And so let's keep it moving. Now, when we talk about hardware and software, let's start off with the G4 Plus. Hardware wise, this guy has a Snapdragon 617 in it, and I believe it has an Adreno, I want to say 330. And it has 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of internal storage with micro SD card expansion. And it is running Android 6.0 Marshmallow, so you do have the adaptable storage feature, so you can make your SD card internal storage. Other hardware features, it has a 5 megapixel front facing camera. It has a 16 megapixel rear facing camera with LED flash and laser autofocus. Up front here, it has a 5.5 inch 1080p display, as I've said, and a one front firing speaker, which also doubles as your receiver, and one microphone with a built-in fingerprint scanner that you can see right there. And I gotta tell you guys, the fingerprint scanner is really, really good, and it works almost all the time, with 2 exceptions. If you have greasy or wet fingers, it's not going to work that well. But other than that, it pretty much works all the time, and it's really, really quick. Now, in terms of the software experience, I would have to say that this is probably a very, very solid software experience. Let me dial the brightness back down so the camera would stop going crazy. But in terms of software, this is pretty much a very stock experience with a few Motorola tweaks thrown in. So you got your Moto display, you got your Moto action, so you can do the chop for the flashlight, the twist for the camera. You can do your custom Motorola command, all that good stuff in here. But other than that, it's a very stock experience, and I would have to say, in terms of the software experience, this is a very, very good software experience, because there's not really too much of an overlay on this guy. Alright? Oh, and I did mess that up. When I said GPU, I meant to say the Adreno 405. I think I said the Adreno 430. So you can see right there, it is the Adreno 405. Alright? But again, in terms of software, I would say it's a very fluid experience, and I've had no issues with it, with one exception. With a ton of apps open in the background, it does have a tendency to have a little bit of slowdown with a ton of stuff going in the background. And you know, I really am beginning to notice that that's becoming a staple of Android devices, but it's not bad enough to take away from the overall user experience, so it's not really an issue, but I do have to point it out for you guys. But other than that, the software experience has been really a joy. There's been no hiccups, stutters, or crashes, and it's actually been very good overall. Alright, so that takes care of the Moto G4 Plus. Now, again, much can be said for the Moto X Pure Edition here. Let me dial that screen down. Sorry, guys. Again, hardware, when we talk about the Moto X Pure Edition, this guy has 3 gigs of RAM with 16 gigs of onboard storage with a micro SD card slot, and it is running Android 6.0 Marshmallow, so that means you could take advantage again of the adaptable storage feature and make your micro SD card internal storage of your device. So, other things is it has a 5 megapixel front facing camera with LED flash. It has dual front facing speakers, which are really, really good. It has a 21 megapixel rear facing camera with LED flash, and it is capable of recording up to 4K video recording. I don't know if I said it, but the G4 Plus is only capable of recording up to 1080p video recording. Alright? But we're going to talk about more stuff when we come to the camera section. But again, in terms of software, it's a very, very fluid experience. Now, underneath the hood, this guy has the Snapdragon 808 processor and the Adreno 418 GPU. And guys, this has been a very, very good software experience. Again, with the exception of if you have a ton of apps open in the background, you will experience some slowdown. But not enough to take away from the user experience, so it's not going to be that bad. But you will notice it, so I do have to point it out. But other than that, in terms of software, this has really been a joy to use on a daily basis, and that's really why I have kept it around as my on-again, off-again daily driver when I'm not reviewing devices for you guys. But in terms of software, it really is a solid device. And that being said, there have been really no glitches, stutters, or crashes with this guy, aside from that little bit of slowdown that you're going to get with a ton of things open. So I just had to point that out. So now, in terms of hardware and software, you guys may be wondering, if I had to pick a device just off the hardware and software, which device would I choose? And I'm going to have to say it's a tie on that regard, because really these are some solid devices with some solid hardware and some solid software, and it really does come down to your personal preference at that point. And honestly, all I can say is I'm glad that I have both of these devices on my table to look at for you guys. But I'm very hard pressed to pick a winner when it comes to that section, so I'm gonna have to again say it's a tie and personal preference. But keeping it moving, now let's talk about the Wi-Fi's in these guys. So, starting off with the Moto X Pure Edition, let me pull up the Wi-Fi stats for you guys here. Now, Wi-Fi wise, this guy has 802.11 BGNN and AC Wi-Fi in it. And guys, I really have to tell y'all, the Wi-Fi on this guy has been really, really good. And I've had no issues with the Wi-Fi on a regular basis, going back and forth between my house and my grandparents' house and my friends' houses. The Wi-Fi has been really, really solid. And keep in mind, the Wi-Fi speeds do heavily depend on what type of router modem setup you have. But in my house, I have a pretty decent router and a really, really good modem. So the Wi-Fi speeds are very crispy, smooth, and quick. So now let's talk about the Wi-Fi on the G4 Plus. And if you guys didn't know what the AC stands for, that means you could take advantage of the 2.4 gigahertz band and the 5 gigahertz band if your router supports it. Just wanted to throw that one in there. Now, when we talk about Wi-Fi on the G4 Plus, again, it's more of the same with a little bit of a performance dip. Let me pull up the numbers for you guys so you can see. And it's actually taking a little bit of a long time because I have a ton of stuff open. But in terms of Wi-Fi on this guy, it has really been a fluid experience. Now, this guy has Wi-Fi 802.11 BG and N, and it does have the ability to take advantage of the 2.4 gigahertz band and the 5 gigahertz band, but it does not have AC Wi-Fi here. But you can still take advantage of the 2.4 gigahertz band and the 5 gigahertz band. And I gotta tell y'all, the Wi-Fi overall has been a very fluid experience. Now, you can see that there's a dip in the numbers. There's a big difference between the numbers, but overall, in terms of daily performance, I would say that these guys work about the same. Now, that's enough talk. Let's go ahead and load up a live video for you guys so you guys can see these in action. And you know what? I think I'm going to pick some music as well so you guys can get a little taste of the speakers in this guy. So let me load up some music here. I was doing some arts and crafts with my nephews and my nieces for the holidays. So that's why y'all saw that little thing up there. But now let's, no, I don't want to do it again. Let's load up some music and make sure it's non-copyrighted. And I'm going to give y'all a sample at 50% volume and 100% volume. Let's see what their newest videos are for Bass Rebels non-copyrighted music here. So, let's see. This 80s joint should work. Yeah. Let me let the ad skip. And let me pause. Let me let this ad skip. And we're gonna pause. Alright, now let me set the volumes. So that's about 50% right there. And over here, that's about 50% right there. Let me show y'all that. It went away real quick. Let me show you that. So 50% volume on both of these. Here we go. Alright. Now I'm going to do it at 50 and I'm going to do it at 100, and I'm going to scrub through parts of the video so you can see how the Wi-Fi performs. Here we go. Enjoy, guys. Oop. Didn't mean to click on that, guys. Sorry. Okay, so that's that one at 50% and 100%. Now, Moto X Pure Edition time. Oops. 100%. Alright, that's good. So, quick little sample for you guys. Now, in terms of Wi-Fi performance, I'm going to have to say it's a tie. But in terms of overall speaker performance, I'm going to have to give the edge to the Moto X Pure Edition, because it has the dual front-firing speakers as opposed to the one single-firing speaker, and it does, in my opinion, get that much more louder. So, in speaker performance, we're going to have to give it to the Moto X Pure Edition. In overall Wi-Fi performance, we're going to have to call it a tie. Now, moving on, let's talk about the bands available in both of these guys. And this one's pretty simple all across the board. All across the board, these phones will work on every major carrier in the United States, and all of their subsidiaries are MVNOs. So that's Cricket, T-Mobile, Verizon, Sprint, AOL, any carrier in the United States or any major carrier or their MVNOs, these two devices will work across the board. So that's pretty sweet. So in terms of bands and LTE performance, you can pretty much call these guys a tie. So that was pretty smooth and straightforward. Let's keep it moving. Now, in terms of Bluetooth, let's start off with the Moto X Pure Edition. Bluetooth wise, I believe this guy does have Bluetooth 4.1 in it, as opposed to the G4 Plus having Bluetooth 4.0 in it. Sorry about that notification, guys. So, in terms of Bluetooth on the Moto X Pure Edition, I would actually say that it's pretty good. Now, I had no issues with the Bluetooth performance except for, and this is a big thing, it's really if you could deal with it or not, except for when I had a ton of Bluetooth devices hooked up to this guy at one time. There were instances with the Moto X Pure Edition where I disconnected and the phone didn't really know that I was disconnected from a Bluetooth device. So it wouldn't play the audio out of the front-firing speakers unless I toggled on and off the Bluetooth or reset the device. Now, this is an issue, but it wasn't that big of an issue because you just toggle it on and off a few times and you're good to go. And in bigger rush scenarios, just quick reboot and you're good to go. But it is an issue, so I had to point it out for you guys. That being said, other than that, the overall Bluetooth performance on the Moto X Pure Edition is pretty good. Now, when we talk about Bluetooth on the G4 Plus, I believe this guy has Bluetooth 4.0 in it, and I'm very happy to report that there were no issues with the Bluetooth whatsoever. I connected this guy up to just about everything that I could think of if it had Bluetooth, and when it worked very good. If it didn't work, then it didn't work. But I had no issues connecting this up to my various devices, my Bluetooth headphones, my speakers, all that good stuff. No issues with the Bluetooth module recognizing when it was connected and when it wasn't connected. So that being said, if I had to pick a winner based on the Bluetooth, I'd have to give the edge to the G4 Plus here. But really, if you're picking these guys up, you should really have no problems with the Bluetooth overall on either of these devices, with the exception of after extended usage and multiple devices being connected to your Moto X Pure Edition, you may or may not run into that Bluetooth not recognizing when it's connected and when it's not connected issue there. But a quick fix for that is either you toggle on and off your Bluetooth or you just restart your phone. But there it is. Now, that was the Bluetooth. Now, let's jump into the GPS performance on these guys. Let me pull up the charts here. Now, in terms of Bluetooth, while I'm pulling up the charts, let me, oh wait, I forgot to go through. I really don't like the fact that they don't have, They don't have a standard Google app anymore. They're using Google Photos. It's kind of taking an adjustment because I'm used to that gallery app, but it is what it is. But now, let me pull up these stats here. But as I'm pulling this up, in terms of Bluetooth GPS, guys, I would really have to say that the GPS on both of these guys has been a joy, and I've had no issues with the GPS on either of these devices, no issues with turn-by-turn navigation on either of these devices, and it really worked very seamlessly and locked on within seconds. This is actually, I can't even say seconds, it was more like fractions of seconds between these guys. So, and y'all already know, the GPS in devices is a really big selling point for me because I'm very GPS dependent. So the fact that both of these guys have really solid GPUs, it just makes me want to hang on to them that much more. But if you pick up these guys, you should have no issues when it comes to the GPS at all. I said GPUs, I meant GPS, sorry guys. So, in terms of GPS in these guys, if I had to pick one, I would have to say it's a tie across the board here. So really, you should have no problems with either device that you pick up when it comes to GPS. So now, let's keep it moving. Now let's talk about call quality and speaker call quality performance on both of these. Now, happily, I'm happy to report that these perform about the same across the board. So you shouldn't have any issues with regular calls or speaker calls on either device. Now I do want to say that I think, in my opinion, I do believe that the speaker calls could be louder on both of these devices, but I had no issues with regular phone calls or speaker phone calls or data speeds for that matter, and I did use both of these guys on T-Mobile, and they are fully unlocked, as I've said before. Now, let's keep it moving. The next thing I want to talk about with you guys is the camera interface and the camera performance. Now let's talk about the Moto X Pure Edition here. Now the Moto X Pure Edition has the very standard and straightforward camera interface. You got your scroll wheel that pulls out from the side, and you got access to your features at a quick touch. So you got HDR, flash, video resolutions, and you can see right here you can record in 1080p, slow motion at 720p, and 4K 2160p, and you have the ability to shoot in widescreen, 16:9, or 4:3 aspect ratio. But in order to take full advantage of all 21 megapixels, you're gonna have to shoot in that 4:3 aspect ratio. Now, I like the widescreen because I feel that it's more cinematic and less letterboxy, so I'm willing to take the hit on megapixels there. But that's the interface on the Moto X Pure Edition. And really, to get to the camera, you could double twist and you're in, and double twist again and you're at the front facing camera. How you doing, guys? And that really makes it really easy. Now again, the front facing camera is a 5 megapixel camera, and it has LED flash, and it does take some really solid pictures as well. And if you follow me on Google Plus, you really do have a solid demonstration of what exactly the cameras on the Moto X Pure Edition can do, because when I'm not reviewing the device for you guys, this is my main daily driver, and I'm posting pictures all the time from this guy. So that's the camera software and the camera experience on the Moto X Pure Edition. Now, when we come to the G4 Plus, it's more of the same with a little bit of a differentiation. Gone is the scroll wheel on the side. Now they went with a simple and more clean approach, but when you do pull in from the side, you still have access to your resolution and all that good stuff there. And then you can see this guy is a 16 megapixel camera, but to shoot in widescreen, you're going to have to take that megapixel hit and shoot in 11.9 megapixels. To take advantage of full 16 megapixels on this guy, you're going to have to shoot in that letterboxy 4:3 aspect ratio. And as you can see, you can record videos in this guy at 1080p at 30 frames a second, and you can also record slow motion on this guy at 540p at 120 frames per second. Alright, now other things, you also have the ability to really dial in your shots with the professional mode here. If you switch to video, and wait, is it video? No, it's right there. So that's the professional mode. So you really have the ability to dial in your photos. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this works on videos, but you can dial in just about everything. Your exposure, your white balance, your focus, all that good stuff. So if you really want to take the time and dial in the best shot, you can do that with this guy. Other than that, it's a pretty standard experience, and you have all of your standard modes. You got your slow motion, you got your recording, and you got your photo mode. Now, that pretty much does it for the camera interface and the software on the G4 Plus. That being said, continue to follow me on Google Plus if you want to continue to see camera samples on this guy up until I decide to get rid of it or decide to keep it. Keep following me on Google Plus. Actually, I was able to take pretty decent shots with this guy and some pretty good video. But I will say, on the video front, the exposures were a little bit all over the place. Some of my videos came out good, others came out a little dark, others came out a little too light, and the same can be said of the photos until I really went in and used the pro mode or professional mode. But that being said, if I had to pick a winner based on cameras, and again, I don't think I pointed that out, but this guy has a 5 megapixel front facing camera as well. But if I had to pick a winner based on cameras, I would have to give the edge to the Moto X Pure Edition. There's literally a lot less thinking involved with it, okay? It's pretty much a solid point and shoot camera. You just take it out. Now the features on this are the same. So you take it out, you twist, and you're off to the races. And it's going to shoot a good picture 9 times out of 10. Now, I can't really say that with the G4 Plus because I had those exposure issues and I really had to dial it in. And I'm not really one to take the time and dial in things. I feel that really is a waste of time sometimes. Really, when it comes to taking pictures and videos, I'm really a spur of the moment type of person. And really, if I have to mess with the camera settings, I feel like I'm going to miss out on that perfect photo or that perfect video. Whereas with my Moto X Pure Edition, I feel like I don't have that issue. I'm really going to get a solid shot 9 times out of 10 and really not have to mess with